This day of prayer is still a spiritual battle.
Hi, my name is Bob Crouse. I'm a 63-year-old resident in Colorado Springs, El Paso County, Colorado. I was diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia just about 5 years ago in a blood test that was taken at a trauma unit that I was in for several broken ribs and a punctured lung. And I was sent to the oncology unit when I got out of the trauma unit, and they told me I had cancer, and they recommended, this was 5 years ago, and the recommended treatment was to wait and see. And they gave me a 2 out of 3 chance of living 8 years, and so I'm 5 years into that 8-year pattern. And with medical cannabis, with a very concentrated form of the cannabis called, it's an oil called Phoenix Tears, since last September, when I've had access to the quantity of medicine that I need, I'm now well over 50% reduction in the leukemia that's in my body, and the only treatment that I have is the cannabis. The El Paso County had me arrested a year ago because the quantity of medicine that I had, both plants and raw medicine, was higher than the normal 2 ounces and 6 plants that the red card standardly covers a patient with. But I had a doctor's recommendation for more than what I had, and what I found out is that it doesn't seem to matter that I have a doctor that says I can do what I do, but I have a bureaucrat that is not a doctor taking my medicine. So I'm in a situation where I'm fighting for my life against cancer, fighting for my right to fight for my life in the courts. The prejudice against marijuana is such that the courts now may not even allow me to bring in scientific data, documentation about the curative effects of what this plant is doing. For me, I've seen it do it for many other patients, but in my own case, I'm beating cancer through a process called apoptosis. The word apoptosis is, I first saw it in a scientific study entitled Cannabinoid-Induced Apoptosis in Leukemia T Cells. And what that basically means is that the cannabinoid that induces the apoptosis is cannabidiol, one of 60 or 70 or 80 different cannabinoids. That specific one, in conjunction with the CB2, the cannabinoid receptors in my body, sends a signal to the leukemia in my body telling the leukemia to kill itself. And the leukemia is killing itself. I've got the blood work to prove it, that it's gone, and there's no collateral damage. There's no healthy cells being destroyed. It's a miraculous thing, but I'm faced with it being tried without the ability to bring science into the courtroom and the medical necessity. If that happens, then as patients, we really don't have a right to our medicine. And even though we have the former head of the United States Congress, Nancy Pelosi, saying in respect to medical marijuana that patients have to have access to have their medicine, period. And that's true. When you're sick, you need your medicine, period. It's a life or death situation for me. You know, I'm asked all the time how I feel or what's going on, and it depends on what aspect of my life you're referring to, because there are major things going on in different areas of my life. So that along the way of this journey, it changes so fast depending upon what hat I'm wearing, that different people have different recommendations, different suggestions. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And that goes along with whether it be treating the cancer or fighting the court case or even taking care of my mother. everybody has suggestions, but as a patient, you have to end up being the one who makes the decisions, and I'm the defendant, so on the court scene, I have to make the decisions. The way they come together there, one friend, a doctor, a scientist, knows more about cannabis than anybody, whose his ability to testify is being adjudicated right now, whether they're going to allow him to testify or not, has encouraged me to file attempted murder charges. Because in reality, that's what's going on for me, and the system doesn't understand that to take my medicine away from me, a medicine that I've proven to myself, and I have the scientific blood work that says that I'm beating the cancer, that I'm in a system that would take the medicine away from me. It's an insane kind of a thing. Just like bringing charges against people that work for the establishment. You know, we've got police officers, task force people, judges, prosecutors, district attorneys and so forth, all trying to do a job, but we've got a situation where the job that they're trying to do is in the process of doing that puts me at risk of death. It's an insane place to be. That they want to find out the truth in a court, but there's even a question of whether or not we're going to allow science into it. Being judged in a situation where I've had to teach everybody every step of the way what's going on. So it started with the doctors, started with me teaching myself. I had this potential of a cure for cancer in a doorway that I accessed to go look for it, because medicine didn't have anything for me except wait and see. And along that journey, you find so many different things that you have to get to see if it can help you find this cure. And I didn't say no to any of those opportunities to find this cure. The decisions to do what I did were life and death decisions, every one of them. And I tried, and I knew I was getting in a highly regulated industry. It was so highly regulated that they didn't even have the regulators written. They didn't have them interpreted by the rules committee yet. They were all just being thrown in the air, and depending upon whether you were a city or a county or a state and where you are within the state, everybody had different opinions. And meanwhile, patients are just trying to identify ourselves, and I identified myself with everything. 10, 12 years ago, the amendment was passed, and then there were certain laws, House bills and Senate bills that were passed along the way, 2 or 3 or 4 of them now, I don't know how many all. It's hard to keep track of everything that they're doing. That began to provide more of the structure to protect the rights that were established in the Constitution. And unfortunately, what's happened is down here in enforcement and rules and those kinds of things, we have people interpreting it in a way that makes patients criminals rather than interpreting it in a way that supports and defends the rights that were granted. And so we need to correct this down here at this level, and most of this is a result of ignorance, lack of education, simply and purely not willing to allow science into the discussion. It's anti-American, it's unconstitutional, but it's tragic more than it's anything. And if we allow our country to continue to go down the path of taking away individual liberties, then our children are the ones who are really at risk, and our children are the ones that we should be protecting. And the future for our children right now, with the agenda that's being perpetrated in El Paso County by the district attorney here, is one that will have 1 out of 3 of you who have children today, 1 out of 3 of your children will be in prison by the time they're 20 years old with a medical marijuana charge against them. They will be incarcerated. That's the statistics. That's what's happening. That 20 years from now, if we don't change what's going on, your children are going to go to jail by an unconstitutional laws and interpretations of laws in a system that's violating the rights of its citizens. And it's tragic.
The name of the DA prosecuting your case?
Is Dan May.
M-A-Y?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to make sure I get his name out there. Get him plenty of publicity.
Yeah, I think people should see what it is that he is doing.
And the judge handling the case.
The judge, his name is Schultz. I hope he has the vision and understanding of the the Constitution and the future for all of our children. If the establishment is going to prosecute patients, period, our society's in real trouble. And that's what they're doing in El Paso County. There are other areas within the state where they don't prosecute patients. The difficulty is that the people prosecuting down here have not been educated enough so where they can tell the difference between a patient and an illegal person. You know, we all look the same, and so they just gather us all together. It's very unconstitutional. And you can correct that with education, but we're fighting against a system that refuses science, and the system is us.
Supposed to be.
So me getting my head around that's insane. And that's causing more damage to me and my health than the cancer is. I'm beating cancer. I'll walk away from cancer unless they convict me of anything, because they take your medicine away from you here in El Paso County. It doesn't matter what you're charged with. They'll take your medicine away from you because they don't recognize it as medicine. They don't recognize the Constitution of the state of Colorado. The allegiance is being given to an archaic determination by the federal government that marijuana is a Class 1 substance, that cocaine is a Class 2. Cocaine is better for you than marijuana. We have a situation in which in our society we kill more people every year with drug overdoses by our pharmaceutical company than all the deaths from heroin and cocaine combined every year. More in pharmaceutical drug overdose deaths than heroin and cocaine, and the number of marijuana deaths every year keeps mounting up. 0 on top of 0 on top of 0. So now the 3 years I've been a patient, let's see, altogether now we've had nobody killed with marijuana. It's benign, it's a plant. It's like dying from eating too much corn. Yeah, you know, if you eat a whole acre of corn, you may have some digestive problems, but it's not the corn that's killing you. You know, it's insane. So we can try to educate. That's all we can do is educate, and we sacrifice. We bleed every day. We get shot at every day. We're incarcerated every day. We're a country where we have 5% of the world's population, but we have 25% of the world's incarcerated people. So that says to me we're 5 times more likely to be criminals in the United States than the rest of the world. It's not right. The only reason we have...
This is a society that's supposed to be a free and open society.
Right.
We pride ourselves on our liberty and our freedom here as Americans.
And that's the deception. They want us to believe that we still have these freedoms, and I'm here to tell you that in my case, they're taking those freedoms away and setting a precedent for every other medical marijuana patient. But it's not just the medical marijuana patients whose freedoms and rights are being taken away from them. This insidious nature is to take away the rights of citizens in all walks of life everywhere that don't fit into the one world agenda that they've got planned for our country and for this world. That agenda does not support life. Our Constitution is based on natural laws that our Creator implemented in His creation, and should be mirrored by our man-made laws that support life and order. Yet we're making laws now that we're saying we don't even want science in them, and that's not a free society. So we think it is, just like we think Ozzie and Harriet were real people. The illusion is over. The streets are full of people dying every day in America. People in prisons dying every day in America with a victimless crime of taking their medicine.
All right, let's let this train get on by.
Good stuff. It's all good stuff. Call Audrey real quick while the train's traveling.